What's happening? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live, worldwide live, as we head towards our 200th show. What's going on around the world? What's up, Paulie? What's happening, Paulie? Checking in from Florida via Long Island. Even though you're in Long Island, you're repping Florida. Got it. Yo, Larry Kelly up in Boston. Gajewski, what's happening? What's going on, gang? Excited about today's show. What's happening in Germany? What's going on in the fatherland, John? Where in Germany are you, bro? Hi, Victoria. Hello, dear. I hope you're well. Yo, Laura Zeitlin. Wow, they're coming out of the woodwork. Must be a slow day out of the Jersey Shore. What's going on in Italy? Good. Glad the gang's all here. We're excited about today's show. Belfast. Come on now, Chris. Bear Bro, what's up? Good to see you in the park the other day, man. Yeah. So good. It's all happening. As they said in Almost Famous. It's all happening. Yeah. Poland. That's my man right there. Yo. Poland is holding it down right now, man. Kenny Clark. What's up? What's going on with this guy? What's up? Can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What are those, pigeons?
I'm up with the pigeons here. Here, let's walk over here. I'm up here.
Where are you?
On Orchid Street.
On Orchid Street or Orchard Street?
Orchid.
Same thing, right?
It's a beautiful day to be up on the roof here, though. You know,
right.
You never know what you're going to see around here. Hang on a second.
Got?
Hey, wait a second.
Hey, Stigma.
Hey.
What's up, Stig?
How you doing?
Hey, bro. How are you?
Not much. I'm just flying my pigeons. I got a big racing pigeon contest coming up soon.
Wow. There you go.
My home is out today.
That's it.
It's all
How
about
you
the
doing?
pigeons.
Yeah. I like your hat.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Kaves is on the show. Mr. Kaves
my
is
head.
Whoa. Let's see that. Let me see that again. Wow. That's a burner right there, man.
Oh, yeah. It was fun, man. It was really good. Because
Wow.
I'm going on tour on Thursday. I start off in Boston. And I figured, let me get the mohawk, get the tattoo, take care of my pigeons, give them a little exercise while we're at it, I'm hanging out on the roof. I got the beautiful city, the city skyline, the skyline of New York City here. I got my pigeons flying. It's a beautiful day, and hardcore lives, man.
What's in Boston this week? You guys are playing in Boston?
Yeah, we're playing the Middle East.
Oh, you and Sick of It
Thursday.
All. You and Sick of It All.
Yeah, and Crown of Thorns, too.
Oh, boy. Now it's a
So
party,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
Sure
I'll
is.
see you at the Black and Blue Bowl anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
We'll
You
send
guys-
you a pigeon report. I'll send a pigeon to bring you a message.
We love you, man.
How's that for the picture of the day right there?
That's the picture of the day, Vinny Stigma. That's cool,
That
man.
guy right there gets no better than this.
Yeah, we love that guy, man. All right.
I'll check back with you in a little bit.
We'll see you later, bro. All right. Hey, there you go. You never know, right? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. It's a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them, www.126clothing.com. Come on now, New York Hardcore Comics. They opened in 2013 selling comic books, punk rock, and hardcore memorabilia, toys, statues, skateboard decks, tapes, vinyl, and all things horror. We love helping bands push their demos and new tracks, so please stop by and drop off your new music. We have in-store events like Magic the Gathering and Warhammer tournaments, plus meet and greets with bands and some live performances. Open 7 days a week and shipping worldwide. Find us online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay. Located at 117 Main Street, Dobbs Ferry, New York. www.newyorkhardcorecomics.com. Last but not least, DTFM Vinyl Distro is a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, punk, ska, hardcore, metal, and more. Located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's industrial district. Shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com, where the motto is death to false metal. Hey, just want to let you know, you know what hasn't been announced on this show? I'm sure you're wondering. This was not formally announced. We are going to announce it right now. All right, get your shoes and socks on, kids. It's right around the corner. Sunday, May 29th. You asked for it, you got it. Greg Hedson from the Circle Jerks, Bad Religion, and Red Cross will be on the show. How cool is that? Yes, Mr. Hedson will be on the show Sunday, May 29th. So there you go. That is right. That is breaking news, you know? So that plays into the next 4 shows, which is, there is no show on Wednesday. There will be a Patreon-only show this Wednesday. A week from today, Bill Manspeaker, the driving force behind Green Jelly, formerly Green Jello, and Kevin Vonisper will be on the show. They're involved in a film, and as you know, we love talking film on the show. The Life and Slimes of Dookie, Fly Swatter, and Haunted Garage. A very interesting film. I want to bring him on. And speaking of film, I just saw that he was in the chat room. Sunday, May 15th, Mr. Leigh Brooks will come on, the director of the Life of Agony documentary, The Sound of Scars. Joey Z and Alan Robert from Life of Agony will be our special guests. Wednesday, May 25th, speaking of Sick of It All, Mr. Pete Kohler and his wife, May Lynn Kohler, will be on the show. That should be great. And then, of course, Greg Hedson is on May 29th. That said, also want to mention that on Saturday, May 14th, at our beloved Generation Records, I am moderating the I Am Not Holding Your Coat book event. The author, Nancy Burrill, our old friend, she's been on the show a couple times. There will be an acoustic set by Kate 108. That is Saturday, May 14th at 1 p.m. That is the day of the first day of the Black and Blue Bowl. This is happening early. It will be over by 3 o'clock, and we can all hustle over to the first day of the Black and Blue Bowl, right? So that's cool. What else? I think that's yeah. I got to watch the Life of Agony doc for sure. I want to do it as it gets a little bit closer. Yeah, this Manspeaker dude, I don't know a lot about him, but I'm excited that he's coming on the show. You know, hey Paul in the UK, how's the weather? Let me guess, it's raining. Yep. Yeah, I'll get up on that Life of Agony doc for sure. I just want to watch it like a couple days before the show. So, you know, so it's fresh. She's fresh. Also want to mention, I could do this later. Here's another one. How about this one? Yeah. By the way, if you don't know, our good friend Satan is coming on the show. Satan will be on Wednesday, June 15th. Ruler of hell, swallower of souls, creator of rock and roll. Satan will be on the show Wednesday, June 15th. We're going to have lots of laughs. We're going to talk about his history in music, association with the Rolling Stones and Slayer. Looking forward to having Satan on the show. There you go. Yeah, Tim Reichel. Wednesday, June 15th is Satan. So get ready. It's going to be a funny show. That said, let's bring our guest on, huh? What do you say? Little earlier than usual, but we got lots to talk about. So that said, today's guest is an artist, tattooer, entrepreneur, and musician hailing from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. He began making artwork in his early teens, spray painting subway, trains, buses, and handball court. Today, he is a world-renowned artist whose work has been featured in the Gunter Sachs Museum of Fine Arts in Germany, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Henry Chalfant's acclaimed 1984 book Spray Can Art, and countless other graffiti books. As a musician, he is known for his work with the Lordz of Brooklyn and his collaborations with Everlast, Run DMC, Busta Rhymes, Danny Diablo, Tim Armstrong, Korn, and many more. Please welcome, coming at us from where else but Brooklyn, New York, our old friend, Mr. Kaves.
Hey, yo,
How you
what's
doing,
up?
man?
What's going on, Drew? Man,
How are you?
it's been too long. It's been way too long, man.
It's been a long time, man.
I'm glad you do. I see you doing your thing. I'm glad you're doing your thing. You look great. This,
You know, you look great too.
yeah, little grayer since the last time I seen you, but we're trying to keep it.
You know what, Caves? You and I and a bunch of we've survived, man. And
Yeah.
we've hung in there, and I've said this before. I know it's a little early on in the show to say it, but I'm real happy for your success, man. You're doing well, and it's just great, man. It's just great when people that have hung in there and worked real hard, get their just desserts, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I feel like hopefully there's definitely more to come. It's been an overnight success takes more than 30 something years to happen. 15
Sure.
minutes. I always say 15 minutes of fame is a life, long of pain. You know what I mean? Like 15
It's so
years,
true.
20 years of pain. But
Yeah,
this is what artists do, right? We're artists, man. We're creatives, and we basically we do success or not. This is if we didn't do this, we wouldn't go on living. This is how we breathe,
Absolutely. And I was talking to my dad, and I know you were talking to my dad the other day. My brother hooked you up, my dad, and we were talking. It was funny. My dad's like, "Do you know this guy, Caves?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's coming on my show in 2 days." How the fuck do you know Caves, Dad? And I know you guys were talking, but
Yeah.
my dad did a bunch of research, and just saying how basically like you said, overnight success, it might be perceived as overnight success, but in most instances, man, it's a lifetime of setting things up to get to that point, man. You
Right.
know?
And your father's going on 90, bro. Incredible, brilliant guy, full of life and full of energy, like a true artist. I mean, that's like what we all strive to be, like your old man, right? Like
Yeah.
he's got a legacy of work, and over the years it just keeps building up. I mean, you don't even look at your age; you just look at your work, right? And now he's on to something new, and it's incredible. I mean, it's more power to him. Great guy, Drew. You're lucky. You come from good stock, bro.
I am lucky, and your dad's still around too, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's still out there in the street doing his thing.
Big baseball fan, your dad, right?
That's right. Mets, man. Mets.
Mets?
Yeah.
Oh, so him and Howie Abrams must have plenty to talk about.
That's right. And that was nice seeing that little sneak appearance of Vinny over there, because how he got that book coming out with him. I can't wait for that.
That's right.
I was mad jealous too. He's got the pigeon coop up there. My father used to fly birds in Flatbush, and when we eventually got a house in Bay Ridge, from an apartment building, right? Eventually we got a house, but our roof was on an angle, and that was the first thing he said to me. He's like, that house sucks. The roof isn't flat. we can't build a bird, we can't build a pigeon coop on there,
That's great. So I'm not going to ask you what the latest is, because let's circle back to it.
Right.
So let's get right into it. How did you come up? Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a musical and artistic household? Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, I grew up. Well, basically, I was born in Flatbush, right? I was on Church in Troy. My mother was from Bay Ridge. My father was from Flatbush. He was a greaser from Flatbush. My mom was an aspiring hippie chick from Bay Ridge. and they met in Hinch's ice cream parlor, and pretty much eloped, and the rest was history. I was a love child, and come from Brooklyn, humble beginnings, apartment buildings, and fire escapes and alleyways and concrete cathedrals, but basically, they were young kids that were in love, but young kids, raising kids, it pretty much, they ended up breaking up. They ended up getting a divorce when I was about 10 years old. I mean, my childhood to then was kind of like just that Brooklyn childhood. And then the divorce happened and we moved back to Bay Ridge. And we jumped around a little bit from Bay Ridge to Shisa Bay to Flatbush, but Bay Ridge was where my mom was raised. So she wanted to be close to her parents. And we moved to a block on 92nd Street and Gelston Avenue in Bay Ridge. And I was a young kid. My brother's 2 years younger than me, and then we had a little sister. We have a sister that was Chrissy, that was 10 years younger than us, and so was my mom, pretty much as a waitress, raising three kids back in an old neighborhood. And
right.
I mean, listen, they were beautiful parents, and they were crazy in love, but also crazy. It was crazy times. New York City, Brooklyn. My father was still the wild cat on the street, half gangster, half carpet layer, and my mom was just basically trying to figure it out. So for me, and you hear it all the time that divorce is hard on children, and it's definitely I can go back now, plenty
Sure.
of therapy later, that I could be like, yeah, I was trying to find myself. I was trying to find a voice. I was trying to be recognized. I was trying to fit in, and I was lucky because that block that she moved back to.
Now this is Bay Ridge.
Yeah, the Bay Ridge. Yeah. I would, my uncle like hooked her up with this little apartment, and shit, we had milk crates and a fucking lucky if we had a black and white TV at the moment. So I was just definitely, I felt like that I just needed something. And on my block, like I said, I was lucky to get to this block because this block, there was a group of kids there, 40, 50 kids always hung out on the block, but there was this graffiti crew called the Bad Racket. And
I'm sorry, the what?
The Bad Racket.
The Bad Racket.
Yeah, the TBR. This was like a BMT line graffiti crew that were known for their tagging. Like they're mostly taggers and inside guys.
Now I'm going to approach this a little bit like a novice and ask some of the sort of basic questions, being that we got people around the world. When you say BMT, the BMT is a line of the New York City subway that stretches out to Bay Ridge. Is that the D?
That was the double R train.
The double R. I'm sorry.
It's double R. It's a local train. It's a sleepy train. Like people they didn't live in Bay Ridge because the local took forever to get there. We're South Brooklyn. We're deep in the cut. We're by the
Is it still called the double R?
No, it's called the R train now.
So it's the R that goes all the way to Astoria, Queens.
Yeah. That's the other side of the world, right?
That's where my gal lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was always the other side of the world. But that train ran through those neighborhoods, and these group of kids that lived on, that a couple of them lived on my block. Sure. When we were trying to get to know kids or whatever, basically I'm in the street trying to figure it out, and graffiti's blowing up in New York City. It's late 1979, early 80s. It's like wildfire. It's all over the place. And I'm artistic, and I was like the kid in school that was the artist, right? So I met a couple of the kids, and they were asking me if I got down with the graffiti, and it kind of sparked my interest. And believe it or not, my mom at that time took me out of school. Like she had to go downtown to like the welfare offices to try to get get some bread. And she took me for a train ride, and it blew my mind what was going on in the trains. And because I was artistic, right away I gravitated to it. And when I was in grammar school, in the 6th grade, there was a girl that had this article There was two kids. One kid had a High Times magazine, and this is in the 6th grade. They used to go smoke doobies at lunchtime, and
Good one.
he had a
Good
High
one.
Times magazine, and in the magazine there was this whole article about Lee Quiones. So
Sure.
I was, I was just, I was amazed, and then this girl brought in this Village Voice article that had a full colored double page layout, and it had all of the top to bottom trains and Lee and Scene and the Dondi car. Dondi's a Brooklyn writer, so like
Yeah, I got that. I got that in the archive. Let me pull it up.
when I seen that article and like the fire down below, it just blew my mind. Futura and like so
Would
now
that be this?
Yeah, well that was one of the cards, but it was the one with the hand. It's like the famous,
Oh yeah, is that the Hand of Fate?
the hand of doom, like the
Hand of Doom. The
children
Hand
of the grave. Children of the grave. Actually, the Hand of Doom
Children
car
of-
was
yeah.
the Hand of Doom car was the Scene car. Dondi
Right.
had the Children of the Grave car. I think this is part 2.
Yeah.
Part 1. So basically, like there was no social media. There's no internet. There's not, there's black and white TV. There's 3 or 4 TV channels. Graffiti, you wanted to know everything about it. It was like the subculture that was a secret society. And I had and I was lucky because, like I said, there was a couple of kids on my block that kind of were like, they gave me the introduction. And there was this one kid from the neighborhood that was like the Sylvester Stallone, like the Rocky Balboa of the neighborhood. He was like the ultimate graffiti king and writer. And he wrote RR. And RR used to come to my block because my sister, so my mother's a waitress right now, and she would have to get babysitters to babysit my little sister, Chrissy.
Who was a lot younger than you and
Yeah,
your
she was
brother
10
Adam.
years. She was 10 years younger than us, so she was a baby, right? And something like that. So when she needed a babysitter, this girl named Marianne was the babysitter, and RR was in love with her. So he used to drop by the crib and see me outside, like dueling in the street, trying to I'm toying it up in the literally with chalk in the street, trying to figure out a tag.
Mm-hmm.
And he, because he wanted in with the babysitter, he took a liking to me and actually gave me my name Kaves, right? And it was handed down.
Is that derived from anything in particular? Kaves with a K?
It was Kavs. His brother Frankie was retiring of the ripe old age of 15 years old, and gave him, and Rodney was like, yo, my brother's retiring, you could take his name, and gave me the name Kavs. And I was rocking that for about a year or so, or about a year or 2. And underneath the Verrazano Bridge, now my block was like adjacent to the Verrazano Bridge and the parks underneath there where all of the kids used to hang out, all the stoner kids, all the rocker kids. And like Bay Ridge, as much as people think the movie Saturday Night Fever was filmed in my neighborhood, and it was a big part of my neighborhood, but most of the kids in that neighborhood were mostly into rock and roll, you know what I'm saying? So there was a bunch of kids, all the rocker kids used to hang out underneath the Verrazano Bridge in the girders, they're called. And the girders was a place where later on would become my masterpiece art gallery.
Is that where all the handball courts, handball courts and all that?
So where the Verrazano Bridge's cables come in, behind the Verrazano Bridge by the highway, is all these crazy cement concrete encasements, and
Sure.
This is where I got my practice in, and this is where I would make my bones, right? So there used to be something called the Caves there, where all the kids in the wintertime used to hang out inside the Verrazano Bridge and light it up with candles, and that's where they would smoke their herb and listen to Led Zeppelin or Jim Morrison. And I was a little kid running around there learning the ropes from RR, and and I became really good at it fast. Like my talent definitely, I always hung out with older kids, and I excelled at it. And for Bay Ridge, they were mostly inside taggers, and there was some kids that did throw ups or whatever, but there was nobody really piecing heavily. And then I that's where I started going in, and I wanted to be as great as Lee or Dondi or Scene or like all the greats. Is the Wiz like
who were your in that era there? Who were your big influence? Who were the heavy hitters? Who did you look up to?
I definitely like Lee Creones and Dondi, you know, Roland Underwriters, and there was plenty of graffiti crews that eventually I would get involved with. But as you start experimenting and jumping on that train, there's no social media, right? Like there's no internet. So the subway becomes our internet. That's becomes our way to network and socialize. And basically, because I was, you know, I was getting good at it, I wanted to just get on, you know, get out there and network. And basically that's how it all started. And don't get me, and let me not forget, my little brother Adam is 2 years younger than me, and back then when you're little kids, 2 years might be a lot. So he was always trying to like tag along, and we used to give him really hard time and shit, not let him tag along and whatever. But he was also writing, and through these exchanges of leaving the neighborhood and meeting other people, you know, and even in our own neighborhood, because of our, you know, economic background and because we were kind of broke, right? We were hanging out with kids that were in the kind of same boat. So back in the neighborhood, you know, the neighborhood was mostly, you know, it was mostly a white neighborhood, right? It was mostly Italian and Irish and Norwegian and German, and this was kind of the neighborhood. It was kind of closed in a bit. But when I was in grammar school, I became friends with a Puerto Rican kid named Joey Hernandez, and another friend of mine was a black kid named Troy Jenkins from the Fort Hamilton Army base, and these became, you know, my brothers, and they were also writing graffiti, and there was also a Cuban kid named NC, and I started forming my own crew, High Five. I started getting kids together and figuring it out, and at the same time, the hip hop thing started to pop off.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you about. I know this might be a little bit later on, but this is you and Revs, correct?
Yeah. So I was going to get into that.
Let me ask you that it seems, and I'm approaching this a little bit as a novice, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of the stuff I see that you did early on, a lot of other guys, it's always like two guys. Back then, did you have a running? How did it work? Did you have a running partner? I mean, I'm sure it doesn't make sense to go out by your friggin' self. But I always see like Sane and Smith, and so how did that? What was the concept behind that?
Well, you know, so like I said, I started forming a crew of my own, and had a crew of cats that were. But I was really focused on piecing. I really wanted to become a great writer, an all-out writer. Like I wanted to really be like one of the greatest, right? But in my neighborhood, it was, you know, it's Bay Ridge. There wasn't a big crazy graffiti community, so we started building one, and that's how, like I was going to mention, like there were some writers from Staten Island, Lask and Mars, and I started hooking up. I started branching out, and I started becoming for a little kid, and mind you, I'm 12, 13, 14 years old. I started making noise as a graffiti artist, but in my neighborhood, I started noticing another writer, right, from the a couple of maybe 20 blocks away, that started like taking some doing some stuff in ballsy places, and I was like, who's this kid, Kirk, right? And some other graffiti writers, we'll bring him to you, he'll come to your block, we'll set it up, and I'm like, I'm interested in seeing who this was. So this kid comes to my block, and at the time he was writing Kirk, but he was just about changing his tag. And of course my NC and High Five and all these guys are gonna kind of shake him down a little bit and see if he had what it takes to hang out with us, right? Because we're the big shot graffiti writers at the time, right. In the neighborhood. But this guy had something, and not for nothing, but in this neighborhood, like I said, it's like old rockers, and there's not a lot of cats that are different. He was different because he was into punk rock, and in our neighborhood, there wasn't a lot of people that were into punk rock or hardcore. And he was like a legitimate punk rock hardcore kid. And that's when I first even heard about hardcore music, was all punk rock. I mean, I knew about the Clash, but who didn't know about the Clash, right? Like, like real hardcore shit, like real New York stuff, CBGB shit. I didn't know nothing about CBGBs until this cat put me on it, right? And so basically, he was changing his name to Revlon, which later on became Revs. So, so I was like this. I was this little b-boy kid, like, because we didn't get to that, but we were also breakdancing, and when we were going to different neighborhoods, and my cat Joey Hernandez brought breakdancing to us in our hallway on Gelston Avenue with the Run DMC record. Like we were heavily b-boys and into breaking and b-boy culture and hip hop, but Revs was into punk rock. So in my neighborhood, like we were kind of misfits in a way, because I'm into hip hop. There's not a lot of cats into hip hop, and Revs is into punk rock. So there was something about the chemistry that we started writing together. And I think I put him down. Like he would say that, like when he met me, then we started really trying to go in on the piecing, and like he schooled me on what he knew about. I schooled him on what I knew about, and we started getting together. And we did, the book, the piece that's in the famous piece that's in spray can art, is me and Revs going at it, and that made that, Henry Chalifant came to the neighborhood, and the rest was history. Then it took, we were 13, I was 15 years old doing 3 whole handball courts. Revs did his famous checkerboard piece. And we were really at that point trying to make a name for ourselves and trying to be competitive and put Bay Ridge on the map. And Revs took a punk rock approach to it, and he really went in. I mean, if you want to talk about one of the greatest graffiti artists, you talk about the greats, right? You talk about who you look up to. Little did I know that Revs, in my book, would become one of the greats, right?
Let me ask you, for the uninitiated, what's the difference between a bomber and a tagger?
Well, bombers and taggers are pretty much the same. In order to bomb, you need a tag. So you're gonna tag. Like bombers, I mean, you could do bombing with throw ups, but bombing is when you go all out and you write on everything.
Bombing is just when you're just like MQ.
You're bombing. You're going all out. You want to get your name on everything and everywhere. So piecing is more of elaborate. It takes more time, and it's more focused in on trying to create some sort of production, they call it now, or trying to create something that is impactful. Where bombing is about more, and piecing was about like something more focused on art, right?
Right. And in your opinion, who are some of the great bombers?
Well, you mentioned MQ, and then he had his thing with Ghost. Ghost was a great bomber. J.A. was a great bomber.
Well, those guys used to go back and forth over each other, and that was a long
But a lot of people don't know about, like, one of the greatest bombers to me was Ant, and he was like a mentor to me. And that's another guy that became like a mentor. And I would find older cats, like, because I always knew in my head, if I want to be the best or you got to hang out with the best. You got to be with the best. And usually the older guys would have more influence. So Ant was an inside writer that was probably up on every BMT train that existed. And, and in this interview, of course, I'm going to jump around. And if I miss people, of course. Unfortunately.
That's what we do here. We go where the horse leads us on the show. By the way, Alan Robert from Life of Agony says, lots of respect to Mr. Kaves and Lordz of Brooklyn. We shared many a stage back in the day at L'Amour's.
Who is that now?
That's Alan from Life of Agony.
Oh, Life of Agony. Listen, man,
that's a Brooklyn band right there. Man.
Yeah, Life of Agony. We shared a lot of stages, and they were a great, incredible band. A lot of like unsung heroes definitely come out of Brooklyn, and Life of Agony to me is one of them. And it's cool. I'm back strolling through Bay Ridge. I do my morning routine, and I bump into Mina at the coffee shop mostly every morning. And like the family still exists out there, and a lot of love.
That's a real Brooklyn. That's a real Brooklyn character, right?
Oh yeah.
I've probably been to that coffee shop with her and Alago, and God bless. And Chippy Love checking in too. What's up, Chip?
Chip Love. Yeah, we shared some walls together. Chip's another kid, the New Yorkers, bro, native New Yorkers. In the house.
There you go. Hey, City, out there. Let's. Now, I know at a certain point that I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set this up a little bit. That you were in the neighborhood. You started booking a club called Ernie Barry's.
Well, yeah. Well, the graffiti career was going like I was hardcore graffiti. We were we were breakdancing, we were doing all that stuff. We were, you know, we were expressing ourselves. But the graffiti always, to me, was going to be my calling, right? It was going to be how the Brooklyn boy made good. Because remember, I talk about my mother, and I was like I felt like, you know, we had big dreams, and it really stems from my grandmother, Marie. You know, she wanted to be a singer and dancer, and it kind of was in our family. The Quattroni sisters were like all this kind of folklore, Lords of Brooklyn stuff comes from these beginnings. But when I got so eventually, me and Revs started doing our thing hard, and we started traveling out. A friend of ours, Coast, rest in peace, had the Buick Regal, and we had a car, and we were going all city, and eventually, you know, I got popped in the Fresh Pond Yards in Queens, and it made the daily newspaper, and I got in trouble. And
was that when you got that happened with Revs?
Well, I'm not. You know what? Now, many years later, Revs got away, right? Like, so we could just say Revs got away, right? So,
right.
But there was a moment where the Vander Squad wanted to know who was that guy that got away, right? But that wasn't going to happen.
And that was a thing. The Vandal Squad.
Yeah. So the Vander Squad, you know, they got me in Queens Yard, but the next day it made the newspapers. Vice isn't nice. Me and Revs were doing this whole Miami Vice call, because Miami Vice we were the Vice boys, Verrazano boys, and we doing the Vice boys call. And Will Wan, Coast, a bunch of Brooklyn boys were out there, and we met DG, rest his soul too, in the Yard that night. And you know what? It made the newspapers, but for me, what it fucking did for me was, it took the wind out of my sails, because I got arrested and they knew who I was now, right? And that was like, so now I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? How am I gonna, like, because the spray can was the thing that I thought was gonna be my voice, and I thought I was gonna be able to get what I needed from that, right?
That was good. That was gonna be your vehicle.
Yeah, that was gonna be my vehicle, and to be one of the greats. And then I was just like, at that point, I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do. But my brother was starting to DJ. And we were doing little basement parties, and we were trying to figure it out. And then what happened was this club owner in my neighborhood, a couple of the Verrazano boys were doing construction for him, and they asked me to come in and do some sign painting. So I took the spray can, I made some signs for him, and he noticed that I had a crew of kids, and I was a man about town, and I was doing my thing, and the Verrazano boys was my crew, and he was just like, yo, Mikey, can you, I need your help. I need you to, I need to get the kids in here. I need, and I was just like, well, what, he's bringing disco acts in there, TKA, fucking.
Now, did disco sort of reverberate longer in Bay Ridge than around the rest? You would think, being that, I mean, for those out there around the world, the movie Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta was shot and took place in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Yeah, so that was Bay Ridge's claim to fame at that point. Is that John Travolta came there with the white suit, and he fucking and the
pizza, the two pizzas on top of each other,
which nobody ate two pizzas on top of each other in Bay Ridge. They're all bachelors. I don't know where that came from. Maybe that was a Jersey thing. But you know what? John Travolta,
no, it was a Hollywood thing. Yeah, it was a Hollywood thing.
But John Travolta, very, very dear to my heart. Like one of the all-time greats, man. Vinnie Barbarino, like John. Like if anything, the Lords of Brooklyn would like art imitating life, life imitating art. We were the real life Tony Monaros, because we were trying to get the fuck out of that neighborhood by dancing, by graffiti, by all means necessary. So yes, the neighborhood. They were always upset that all the Cougines came to Bay Ridge looking for a dance floor. But the truth is that Ernie Barry's was that place. It was like our 2001 Odyssey. Like we would run that bar, and he would bring groups like Divine and Taylor Dane and TKA. So there was all these disco track acts, like freestyle music, and
sure.
So he's like, yo, Mikey.
So I want to stop you before we go deep, and because I know where we're heading with this.
Yeah.
So I want to bring on Sid the Kid. Hold on. Hey, Sid.
Yo, what up, guys? What up, Kaves? What's up, homie? Yo, it's been a minute, bro.
It's been a long minute. It's been a long minute.
Hell yeah.
You know what? That You mentioned, you know what? And I have that somewhere. What did you say? What was it? Coney Island High, Sid?
Yeah, that's how far we go back. Like in Lords of Brooklyn played quite a few shows there.
Oh, we did.
Jimmy and Poss booked them. Under Creepy Crawl Productions did.
Hold on. I got a banger right here.
Which show is it, Drew? Which one?
This one. Maximum Penalty, Marauder, Lords of Brooklyn, Sub-Zero, and Cold Front at Creepy Crawl Productions presents at Coney Island High, yo.
Yeah.
Yep. All for a whopping $8.
Yeah, believe it, at Coney Island High, we had my wife and I got married, and we had a party at Coney Island High. Believe it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Coney Island High, we had a bunch of dope shows at there, right? We definitely had a good time there for sure. That's like a New York legendary spot for sure.
That's a great lineup. Sid, wait, let me get the.
Hey, where's my ticker, Drew? Hey, I know Mr.
Relax
there,
Skipper. Relax, Skipper.
Hold your horses, Drew. Hold your horses.
Sid comes on the show and he's like running shit. Let's do this first before you get your ticker. Let's do album of the week, okay? So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Album of the week. Boom,
motherfucker!
All right, you knew that was coming.
I did my homework, bro. I did my homework.
So
wait, let's hear from Sid. Let's Sid set the table here. Go ahead, Sid.
All right, guys. So we had to get one legendary graffiti writer here. So why not get a legendary hip hop rap group such as Public Enemy on the show? This is their first studio album. Was released, I believe, in February 10th, 1987. Was recorded in late '86 at Spectrum City Studios in lovely Hempstead, Long Island. This came out on Def Jam in Columbia. Rick Rubin was the executive producer, but Bill Stephanie and the Bomb Squad also produced this album. Now, to say this was a banger of an album is honestly a more underrated statement. This band alone put hip-hop more so, even though hip-hop was on the map, it gave more of a conscious, more realism to what was really going on around us. I mean, hip-hop and rap was all about reality, especially in the early days of the genre. This record coming out definitely was, even to me, and I would say personally, really had a major influence on me, despite Chuck's, little nationalistic politics here and there within the record. Lyrically, though, it just comes out of the gate and hits you right in the face with a brick, big time. And from then on, and definitely one of the few albums at the time that heavily did a lot of sampling, but for some reason or another, it just worked. It just melded with this record between that and how Chuck
took this photo. I think it's Glenn Friedman, right?
Yep,
I believe so. Glenn did take this photo, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
It wasn't Ricky. It wasn't Ricky Powell. This was Glenn Friedman.
It's Glenn Friedman.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Glenn, actually.
Okay. And Sid, here. Sid, where's your banner? Here's your banner, Sid. Kaves, is this a record that resonated for you?
So this is what happened. So basically, when Ernie Barry asked me how am I going to bring the kids to this club, because honestly he was in debt to the gangsters from the Brown Derby. They were putting the arm on him, and he needed to bring like a crazy show there. So he said, look at this talent list. It was from Cara Lewis. And on the talent list, and this is the album. So on the talent list, there was a list of groups that she was booking. And when I seen Public Enemy, I said, hold on here for a second, because just the day before, my brother Adam, like I said, was DJing, and another graffiti writer that I used to go bombing with was Frankie Bones. And Frankie Bones was a DJ, already famous for his mixtapes that he was selling out of More Fun in Caesars Bay parking lot. So Frankie Bones and Adam hooked up, and they were building a record store with a friend of theirs, Carmine. And when I went in the record store, I picked up this album, and I seen the back with these guys fucking on the cars, on the Cadillacs, on the 98 Regency. I was like, to me, they look like gangsters to me. So I was just like, what the fuck is this? And it was this single for Rebel Without a Pause that I put on the fucking record in the record store. And when I heard that fucking song, it just blew me the fuck away. I knew that I found my Led Zeppelin, my Rollins. Like my father was always busting my chops. There was nobody better than Led Zeppelin or the Stones. I felt like I discovered my Led Zeppelin when I turned on the Public Enemy record. So I ran. So when Ernie showed me that shit, I said, yo, we need to bring this group here. Knowing like Public Enemy, I was like, this. I knew, I had a gut feeling that this would change everything for everyone. So,
Wow.
and you understand, Bay Ridge was this was the height. This was the summer that was fucking, it was really, racial tension was fucking crazy. I think Spike Lee would make Do the Right Thing the next year. This was
Sure.
1987 into 88. This was probably 88. When I said to Ernie Barry, it was in February, I need to bring this band here because of this song resonated to me so much. So that's what I fucking set out to do, was bring Public Enemy into Bay Ridge to play Ernie Barry's. And that would be the first time that Chuck D told me on my show that it was the first time they would play in front of an all-white audience, and kind of knew like that shit was going to be on just by, if they knew they can come into Bay Ridge, Brooklyn and get, like, listen, we had the place fucking mobbed with kids that wanted to see Public Enemy. Listen, the parents and the uncles and the cousins, they were giving me death threats. Don't bring these guys into the neighborhood. Don't bring them into the neighborhood. Like, the shit was on. Like, fucking, it was nutty. But I was hip hop. We were B-boys. I didn't give a fuck. This was our thing. We felt like it was our job to we were building a scene which we didn't even know we were building, right? Like, but bringing Public Enemy there, KRS-One there, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie.
Oh, wow.
We brought them all.
You brought all those acts into Ernie Barry's?
Yep, under the Verrazano Boys production.
Wow.
And I brought every one of those groups there. KRS was the last group we had, and then Kings Highway and Bay Parkway went at it, shot up the place over some beef that they had. It had nothing to do with the music, but
Right.
it showed that, hey, there's something here. And from that show, I became friends with Professor Griff and Flavor Flav and not Flavor Flav, Chuck D. Chuck D. I used to go pilgrimage out to Roosevelt to the Spectrum City Studios, and that's where I met Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley, and they asked me
the Bomb Squad,
Yeah.
the producers.
And pretty much Chuck D asked me that night, like, who the fuck are you, right? And the audience was like, oh, that's Kaves, right? Because I would graffiti the background. I graffitied the whole fucking building to announce that they were coming. And he was interested. He asked me if we had a rap group. I said, yeah, we had the best rap group in fucking in South Brooklyn. And I was bullshitting, but I would go out there and they would help me do my first demo, and the rest was history. That's where we got our first start. Like, Chuck D was one of those mentors and one of those people that gave me the love, he called it like the hip hop, the hip hop lover. There was a word that he would give it, but
he basically kind of set you on your course.
Yeah, he gave, when he asked me, come up, what's the name of your group? Like, you got to come up. Hank Shockley and Keith, they were like, what's your concept? I was like, well, we're graffiti writers. We're from fucking this neighborhood. There's gangsters and cops, But my father's gang, his gang in Flatbush was always my inspiration that inspired the movie The Lords of Flatbush. So the movie The Lords of Flatbush, my father used to bust balls and go, we're the original Lords. Pigtown is the original Lords of Flatbush. So when it was time to name the group, I was like, well, Lords of Bay Ridge. I was like, nah, man, Brooklyn to me was more than anything. It was a religion. It was a culture. It was our nationality, really. And I said, nah, the Lords of Brooklyn would that's our name, Chuck. And the rest was, okay, well, now get the fuck to work.
Hey, Sid, good work, Sid. Here.
Thanks, Sid.
But it is true. I did want to just add something really, really quickly. I know my show's
go
kind
ahead
of here.
and shout out. Here's a Sid show. Go ahead, Sid. You have the floor.
Well, really quickly, even though we were talking about this album, just know, obviously, radio was always a big deal to get your stuff out. This was largely, and I mean, when this album came out, a lot of radio programmers didn't even want to touch this. Even when it came out, I believe on Billboard, it reached number 125 at the time, then number 28 on the Black album charts in the United States. It took a good, like 7-8 years for this album to go gold. But it took, like, again, this record was that footprint for conscientious rap, hip hop, like just for you, just to think for yourself. Because on one of the covers, I believe, the government's responsible, the government's responsible, the government's responsible. It's a more of an album that makes you think for a minute, because it's not all just fun shit.
Well, rap definitely things turned a corner. It went from good time party, everybody say ho, to music being a little more socially conscious and stuff like that. And PE, Public Enemy, definitely was at the forefront of that. This record's great. Of course, the next record was mind blowing. For me at the time. But Sid, shout out your show.
Yeah, guys. So, obviously we're coming up here. We're back in May. So if you've been checking out, I've been doing a little series called American Hardcore 1978 to 1987. This is going to be volume 3 coming up. And, if you guys are around, check it out this Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go to mixlr.com/SDK sound system. Or if, you have one of those mobile devices that all you kids will probably have, go on the App Store, Google Play Store, look up MixLR, download that. It's all 100% free to listen to, and, it's all good to go, man. I'm looking forward to it. I got a very big announcement coming up next week, but you kids have to tune in to know what's up.
All right, Sid. Well done, young man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Pleasure, Sid.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Kaves. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
There you have it. Good one, huh?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and I have to shout out Howie Abrams here.
Yes.
Who is a neighbor who lives across the street from me. But I know that you've done a lot of work with him through the years. And when it was time to do homework for the show, I was like, "Can you give me a couple minutes on Kaves?"
Yeah, yeah. No, Howie's family. Well, was one of my best friends. Howie's been a guy that's been in our corner for years. When we made our comeback, he got us a deal on Warner Brothers and this Perfect Game. We've collaborated on many projects. Now we're doing kids' books, children's books. Howie's an amazing writer. So yeah, Howie's always been in my corner. He's one of the, he's definitely one of the family for sure. We'll
get to that. Hey, you know what we skipped over? And Howie hipped me to this. And I think we should take a pit stop here, is this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you want to talk. Yeah, listen, this is where it all begins for me and my brother, right? Like, this is where 1979, my mother was pregnant with Chrissy. Well, I think it was 79. Yeah. No, maybe it was, it's earlier. It's 76.
A little earlier, yeah.
76. It's 76, 70 into 77. We went to see Kiss Alive 2 at the Garden.
Wow.
And that was like, I snuck a big tape recorder in my jacket, and my mother was pregnant with Chrissy, and my father had like an in with one of the security guards from Madison Square Garden, and we got to sit close, and we witnessed this concert. My cousin Steven he came over with the record first. He was the first one to put us down with Kiss, and cousin Steven robbed like an ad off the side of the bus. They had the big Kiss like announcement, and he brought it to our house, and our mother was like, "What are we gonna do with that?" Right? I wish I still had that. But they bring us to that concert, and that concert was, it was Kiss Alive 2, and it changed. That was like, we would kiss every fucking Halloween. We would kiss every day of the fucking week. I was Gene Simmons, Adam was the cat, and basically, if there was ever putting things together in the Lordz of Brooklyn, there was always the branding and the marketing of Kiss was always in the back of my mind, in the Lordz of Brooklyn. And we would go on to sample and what was incredible, after that concert, even my mom was turned on by it. She named my sister's middle name is Beth after the song.
Oh, wow. So
Chrissy is a name from Three's a Company. You can see she's a 70s baby. And Beth was from the Kiss song. And, like, that's the blueprint, like Lordz of Brooklyn, like rap, Run DMC, Public Enemy with Kiss. Sure. Like, that was like the first kind of like, all right, we're gonna build a record, we're gonna brand it. But Kiss was definitely our go-to, and of course later on when we did the All in Family record, when we did the song White Trash, we sampled Adam sampled, because Adam produced all the records. Adam sampled the Kiss song.
I thought I thought that this was definitely worth circling back to as an
Yeah.
and you as an artist.
Yeah.
That like, and this comes up a lot on this show, and it's amazing how many people, how many musicians and artists that we've had on the show look back to Kiss and say this, you know, and I think for a lot of people they were larger, of course, larger than life, and the branding was out there, and
you're listen, you're 9 years old, seeing them at Madison Square Garden. Imagine that. This is now, we're not overstimulated with all the shit we get today, fucking Web3 and VR. And Kiss was all of that. Kiss was, you know, and then so when we did the All in the Family record, we went to Gene Simmons and I got a fax back from him. Can we sample this song? It was She or something. And he said, "Good luck, kid." And he gave me the big S with the $sign. It was like you know, between that and getting on Video Music Box with Ralph McDaniels, that would have made our career, and we could have closed the book on the Lords of Brooklyn after that first record with Rick Rubin and all that shit. We would have been solid. But you know, there was more to come.
Hey, let me take a sponsor break. But before I do that, I want to shout out Jeff Steiner. Says, "Hey Drew, great one today. Last Chronicle listening before I head to Poland, Ukraine. On the way to the airport as I watch. Keep doing what you do, my man." Yo, Jeff, be careful. We love you, man. We love the Ukraine. We love our brothers and sisters in Poland. Just be careful, man. Just be careful. All right? Kaves, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Let me do some sponsor stuff. All right. Here you go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. Our guest today is Mr. Kaves, and we're getting down. And great stuff. That's why we're here. And we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, DTFM Vinyl Distro, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and the Texas Silver Rush. It's a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock Roll Hall of Famers Greg Relay, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Also want to shout out Generation Records. Since 1992 has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com. Follow them on Facebook and on Instagram. Also, while we're at it, Chacho's Tacos, located in Corpus Christi, Texas. Chacho's Tacos opened the doors in 2001, home of the almighty Chacho's Taco. They cook up an incredible hum-style Tex-Mex food, and this month they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their own words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi, swing by, get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. I want to mention a couple of other things. Come on now. Since we're talking about Brooklyn, right? If you don't know, and I know this has been out there quite a bit, about our 200 show, our guest on show 200 is going to be Evan Seinfeld, entrepreneur, musician, biohazard, lots of Brooklyn to talk about. He's down in Mexico now. This is going to be great. And, you know, honestly, I could say our today's guest, I met through Biohazard. So that's going to be a good one. And also want to mention you know what? I am going to be in Berlin, Germany. Come on, Berlin. Berlin, Germany on June 3rd. I'll be signing copies of my book, The New York Hardcore Chronicles, Volume 1, 1980 to 1989. doing a signing in the Cortex Records store in Berlin. I am on my way to screen my new film in Kreuzenberg, Germany. I'm flying into Berlin. I'm going to do this signing on the way. Looking forward to seeing a bunch of my friends in Berlin. Also, my new film, The Jews and the Blues, co-directed with my brother Evan B. Stone, executive produced by my father Arnie Stone, is at the Nighthawk Cinema on Monday, May 23rd. There are a couple of tickets left. I think it's over 2/3 sold out. Come on down. It's going to be a great event. Howie Abrams is moderating the Q&A with me and my brother, an Israeli musician of Ethiopian descent, our good friend Gilly Yallo. This is going to be a great event. If you're in New York City, do not sleep on this. There are some tickets left. And in celebration of that film, the guest on Wednesday, June 1st, will be Laser Lloyd, who plays prominently in my new film. This guy is amazing. This is going to be a great show, a very special spiritual individual. So having Laser Lloyd on the show, very excited about that. I think I covered a lot. So, you know what I didn't cover? I'm sure you're sitting there wondering, I love this show and how can I support it? Funny you should ask. There is a Patreon page. There's a $2 tier, a $5 tier, so on and so forth. Please support the show on Patreon. There's also a PayPal address there if you want to make a donation. It's your support that makes this show happen and has been making it happen for over 2 years and almost 200 shows. Crazy, right? It's great, man. I'm very, very fortunate and consider myself very blessed that I have people like yourselves supporting the show. So thank you all so much. Let me just make sure that everybody's behaving in the chat room. Seems that way. Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. It's a great show. Yes. And Evan is coming on. And yes. Yeah. Drew, this is your chance to get, hey, listen, stranger things have happened, stranger things have happened. So there you go. Please. Also on Saturday, we're going out on a cinematic and music walking tour. Patrons, if you are a patron, it is free for you. Please come out with us this Saturday. Drop me a line. The usual characters, Steven will be there. Come out and smoke grass with Rat Bones. Do all the fun stuff that happens. Hegs will be there. So on. The whole gang will be there. And that's going on this Saturday, starting out at 10 a.m. in New York City. So that said, let me clear the deck. Let's bring our guest back on. Hey, man.
Yo. Hey.
Lots going on, man,
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, I'm excited for your 200 show. Evan, that's a good dude. Biohazard, early on, was a big supporter of the Lordz of Brooklyn and helped bridge us into the hardcore scene, because the truth is that the hip hop scene was very closed off. Like for our, listen, and the crazy thing was, as being the graffiti artist I was, being that, the break, me and my brother with the breakdown, the b-boys that we were, when we first came into the scene, in the hip hop scene, we made a splash with video, with Ralph McDaniels, and we were making our rounds and doing our things. And for some reason,
let me interject that for those that may not know, Video Music Box was a channel where you could, I think, you spend a couple of bucks and you get to sort of you got to play DJ, right?
That was the box.
Oh, that was the box.
So the box,
Video Music Box was the one hosted by Ralph McDaniels. They had a playlist. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Video Music Box was like the ultimate, like it was the ultimate underground hip hop video show, pre MTV raps and all of that other shit. And I mean, and maybe I'm jumping around, but when we did our record, and it was really well received and respected, and in the hip hop community, it was super accepted. But the fucking business part of it, the commercial part of the hip hop community, let's say the gatekeepers didn't want to show us the love on radio or on the mixtapes. And there was definitely some bullshit, because it was some backroom politics that, you know, we were street kids and we dealt with shit on a street level that we must have ruffled too many feathers. So we were kind of blacklisted, but it was the hardcore community and people like Evan and Isaac and Crown of Dawns and Sick of It All. Like,
Sure.
you know, the hardcore community was just as big as a hip hop fan as anything else. And even my friendship it started with Sasha Jenkins back then with Beat Down Magazine. It was such a crossover thing that was going on that the hardcore community just started really like loving the Lords of Brooklyn and bringing us in as one of their own. So that's where our hip hop band was sharing bills at CBGB's and Roseland and Coney Island High and Limelight. Like, you know, we were playing Limelight with Sick of It All. Like,
and then even later, I know we're jumping around, but even later, I saw you play and you with a live band, which was like AJ Novello from Leeway.
Right.
And Louis Gasparo from
That's
Blitzbeer.
right, Louis Gasparo. Yep, another brother,
another Queens graffiti guy.
Yeah,
but I mean, I remember seeing. By then, I think you might have been branded as Lordz, maybe. But
that was later on with Howie Abrams. Well, because the reason why we did the Lordz thing, we didn't want to confuse it with the Lords of Brooklyn with the catalogs, right? We didn't want to mess up, because we had a bunch of records out as the Lords of Brooklyn, and the Lords thing was going to be more of a punk rock hybrid experimental record with Howie. So we just shortened it to play the little game of we're the Lords of Brooklyn, New York, from Brooklyn, New York. But you get it. It was really like a business thing to kind of like throw people off because like I said, like the business of it was always a little funny about, it felt like when you were too authentic and too real about who you were, what you were, it didn't always fit in the business of it, right? Because there was a struggle with that, you know what I'm saying?
But also at the time when you dropped this record, there weren't a lot of, maybe there was a couple of white rappers.
No,
maybe there was Snow and there was Vanilla Ice, maybe. But
yeah, listen, the truth is that when there was Third Base and the Beastie Boys, right? Def Jam, when Def Jam branded you, there was no doing any wrong. It was when Vanilla, like when we were shopping our demos and that stuff. Yes, what happened is Vanilla Ice came in the commercial success of Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, that it was too pop. So kind of like it made it hard for any other white rap group or anything to happen. But what happened was when the House of Pain came and smashed open the door with Jump Around.
Sure.
That's what opened, like, because Lords of Brooklyn were like, we were around since 1988, but that's what gave us the opportunity. I went just like many cats like Toby from H2O with roadie for Sick of It All. Sure. I became a roadie and a background singer for House of Pain. And so it got us in the entertainment business through the back door, and the success of House of Pain helped the Lords of Brooklyn to solidify a deal. So
now the deal that we're talking about was on American Records.
So here's it. The first deal that we had was a production deal on Polygram with Lethal from House of Pain that never happened. It basically went.
I see.
It went south.
I see.
And there was a little there was a little family friction with that, and then the bounce back to that. No, unfortunately, at that time, we had an incredible tragedy in our life because we lost our mother and little sister Michelle to a hit and run. And that just changed the perspective and changed everything at that point, right? Because it was always me and my brother and sister trying to make good, get mom the house with the white picket fence, Brooklyn boy makes good. At that point, it was like, fuck it. All bets are off. Fuck everything. We lost our best friend, our biggest cheerleader. It was like, it changed the thing.
And your sister was very, very young when this tragedy happened.
She was 4 years old. So
good Lord.
You know what? If it wasn't for my friends and family and the neighborhood and the support, if there was ever more of a reason to make a record now and represent Lords of Brooklyn across the world, was because now we had something really to really back up the motive do well, to become successful. Like we couldn't let them die in vain and not become the men that we are now. And it's fucked up about the way tragedies set things in motion. And the love of my mother and sister and would always fuel the Lords of Brooklyn and fuel the fire of my brother and I and our and the other band members and anybody that knows us knows what mission we're on and why we're on it. So that's really the reason why we do what we do. It's really basically to never forget a promise to our mother that we would one day make good, right?
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Blast Beat says Fort Hood and Killeen, Texas loved that record. I was there. It was a favorite in the barracks.
Wow. You know what? We drove all the way in a van with Seamus and the boys in a fucking little van with the Lords of Brooklyn banner. We drove to Texas to fucking play with Korn, and we fucking rocked the shit out of Texas and shit. We killed Texas, and Texas was always a great time.
Wasn't Ted Demi's wife in the mix early on with the Lords? Tell us about that.
So Amanda Demi left LA to come, I guess, hook up with Ted and like get engaged with Ted. And Ted was a force to be reckoned with, God rest his soul, MTV Raps and whatnot. But Amanda just was finished. She helped find, manage Cypress Hill and House of Pain. And there was a little breakup there in the West Coast with the company that was going on at the time. And she came to New York with a vengeance and had the ear of Rick Rubin. So when we were going through our shit, she basically, Mark Pearson's sake, an old graffiti friend of mine, came on as a manager to manage the Lords of Brooklyn with Amanda, and Amanda had her label called Ventru on American Records, and that was our real.
That was a boutique or a subsidiary of American.
Yes, a boutique of American Records. So Rick Rubin was the executive producer, and Amanda was the producer, along with Mark Pearson's sake. And that's why, we got the Lords of Brooklyn deal, and Ted Demi did our first music video, Saturday Night Fever.
That's a great. Hey, let's take a question just because it's here, and while we're at it, Pat asks, Drew, can you ask him how they got onto Videograph in '93, which is how they got on my radar, and does he ever plan on re-releasing the demo tracks featured in that Videograph episode?
So. That's great. Thank you for that, because that was when we were making our bones as the Lords of Brooklyn. Like I said, a big part of our life was graffiti. So we did a song called "Bomb the System," where we coined the phrase with rest his soul. Desi Des just passed away. K Slay. He said in Star Wars, "I ain't running the system. I'm bombing the system." So right then and there, I said, what a fucking incredible title for a song. And I think this is when I was producing at that time, and I sampled up Come Together by the Beatles with something with some other shit. And we did a song about graffiti. And up to that point, there wasn't a lot of songs about graffiti writers by graffiti writers. Futura touched on it with The Clash. Ramel Z would mention it in his stuff, but this was a full-blown, and we did the music video. I directed myself, and Henry Chalfant and Carl Weston helped edit, and that was an underground movement, a graffiti, because Videograph was a graffiti like docu-series that was underground, that the cat, he used to distribute like 100,000 copies of it with Sasha Jenkins. And this is where I met Sasha Jenkins and became lifelong friends with Sasha.
Who you still work with to this day?
Yeah. We're still doing it today, and God bless all the success that's going on in Sasha's life. But it goes to show you, like all of us, you keep working at this, eventually you're going to get to where you need to be. Good work is good work, and that's what always with us. So pioneering that little video music graph, that shit went worldwide. And if you want to talk about like having a gold record, fuck a gold record. That shit was gold. That shit was that little demo tape was done on a 4-track. That was really our first like coining graffiti on wax, hardcore bombing the system.
Awesome.
That's where it happened.
You know what? That's sort of, you know, let's kind of go. Let's ride this where it's going here. Blast Beach says Beavis and Butthead are Lords of Brooklyn fans. That's forever. No one can take that away, and not many people could say that. Now, if I remember correctly, you guys Beavis and Butthead did two bits on the Lords of Brooklyn, right?
They did, and you know, we were lucky to get that. Like, MTV would only play the Lord. Like, think about at the time, it was grunge music or Funkadelic, Snoop Dogg. That was through. Yeah. There was no way Warner Brothers could have broke a Lords of Brooklyn record. It was too hardcore. It was too punch you in the face. Yeah. Baseball bats and Cadillacs. It basically, MTV could only play us after 12 o'clock at night. So Beavis and Butthead basically gave us a little bit more commercial legs to kind of like, because when we went overseas, we were fucking huge out there in Italy and in Poland, and like it was insane how night and day difference. We go out overseas and then come home. In JFK, we couldn't catch a cab. No one gave a fuck. But when we were overseas, we felt like we were Kiss. You know what I mean?
That's a good line. Couldn't catch a cab.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we have a couple friends sort of, you know, in that sort of, you know, over in Europe, they have a great career. They come back here and it's just like, you know.
Well, you know, back here there was a lot of things going on. Like I said, like grunge. It was like when it came to radio, it ain't like today. Like rappers today, they could definitely get out. Then it was so controlled. There was so many middlemen, and there was so many haters, and you know what I mean. There was so many people that had agendas, but the truth is that our thing was being on stage. Fuck all of it. CBGB's, Roseland, fucking Irving Plaza. We're Brooklyn cats. There's probably not a band that could say, like, when it came to our stage show and our presence, that we didn't, you know, hold our own and definitely pioneered a lot of shit in the sense of like what was going on at the time. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, listen, I feel still my brother's one of the best kept secrets when it comes to produce. He just produced like 3 joints for Method Man, Redman, KRS, Ozzy Osbourne, Busta Rhymes. My brother's like a Freddie Fox, Bumpy Knuckles. Like, there's not a better hip hop producer, and I would put him up. I wish there was a versus in hip hop producing, because I would put my brother up against anybody. All the NFT fucking earnings, it would be on my brother. Fuck it.
Yeah. That said, now and we're sort of we're moving forward, but the Brooklyn Way was a record that you did a little bit later on, as the Lordz, correct?
Yeah. So the Brooklyn Way,
and then the Brooklyn Way was on MSG, and then also ended up on Fuse. And I remember seeing that and be like, "Wow, you guys hit it, man!" I mean, that's when reality shows were. And wow, Kaves and them got a reality show on them. Like, tell us a little bit about that. Was awesome, man. Tell us.
Well, you know that was a beautiful thing. It happened. Believe it or not, Kevin Lyman had a big part of like resurrecting us, right? Wow. Kevin Lyman in the Warped Tour. Kevin Lyman became another one of those mentors and dear friends.
And you guys, of course, did a nice run on the Warped Tour.
Right. So when we on the Warped Tour, we said, Kevin, you know, we got our hat in our hand, and we're starting over again. Like, there's no big budgets. He said, fuck it, come out. We got one of our friends to raise some money on Wall Street. We jumped into Winnebago and we went on the Warped Tour, and we reinvented the band again. And Kevin Lyman, in 1995, we played the first Warped Tour, and he remembered that because we were at the height of our little Lords of Brooklyn thing. Sure. And he had us come back out, and he was a fucking, he was a sweetheart that showed us, here's how you concentrate and focus on 10% of America. Stop worrying about the world. He's like, you want to make a living, I'll show you how to make a living. And on those tours, we came back on the road, and people like Rancid was shouting us out from the stage while we were playing the little tent, like, where's the Lords of Brooklyn? Like, come, so we became, we formed a beautiful friendship with Rancid, with Lordz and Tim. And then we were cutting demo, like new songs on the John Lennon bus on the Warped Tour with Taking Back Sunday. And there was like a whole new group of people that kind of reinvigorated what the Lords of Brooklyn were, what we were going to do, especially with the live band. And a lot of those demos, when I got off the Warped Tour, I went and seen Howie Abrams and said, what do you think of this this little thing that we were doing. And he said, yo, this would be incredible on my new label. He said, let's, he goes, because there was so much haters and drama with the Lords of Brooklyn. He said, like, let's shorten the name and let's give you guys a fighting chance. I said, well,
let's
give
it a reboot.
Yeah. He said that. I said, he goes, you guys could fucking frame it. I said, how about we call the Lords from Brooklyn? He goes, I don't give a fuck. Just let's get it around all these haters in the industry. And I said, you know what? Cool. It won't fuck with our old catalog, and we could slip in another back door. So we were always trying to navigate and try, but call it the Lords, call it the Lords of Brooklyn, call it what the fuck you want. It's always, it is what it is. It's two brothers and a group of friends that had a dream, and we continue to, champion it to this day. Semi-retired. But we're still doing it.
Chippy Love says, always thought Adam's production was sick.
Oh, thank you, Chip. So
Chippy Love's a G, man.
Yo, so on that record, of course, Howie Abrams shares the love of Kiss, and we thought covering the New York Groove, Ace Frehley jump off, and that became big for us. That was the most played in stadiums, and like that song just helped us resurrect it. And from those meetings, I met a girl named Melissa at MSG, and she asked me what I was doing, and I showed her, like, of course, telling a story. I always wanted to direct and act. I put together a sizzle clip of my family going through what they were going through, the struggle, reinventing ourselves, and we sold 12 episodes to MSG, and I directed it, and my wife edited it. So. Fucking bug out on that.
I didn't know you directed that. I didn't know you directed those episodes.
I did. Yeah.
I mean, I know you directed The Shoemaker.
Yes. So, but
I haven't seen it. How can I see The Shoemaker?
On Vimeo.
On Vimeo, yeah, I want to see that.
I mean, the whole idea was like always trying to find a voice, always trying to be creative. As an artist, I use many disciplines, right? I back in the days, people called it a jack of all trades. I used to get very offended by that because the real thing was jack of all trades, master to no
nowadays,
yeah,
that's what's up.
So when someone walked, I think it was Lee's wife walked in here recently, and she said to a friend, "This is Mr. Kaves. He's a master multi-disciplines." And I was like, finally, I felt like there was a title that I could really like wear. And when when I did the TV show, I was getting, people were asking me, hey, would you act in a film, or would you do this? Would you do that? And I said, you know what? I always wanted to act as a child, but I didn't have the resources or the funds. So I went, at that moment in time, I had a moment, and I went to Herbert Burkhoff's school to see if I had the acting chops. And I really fell in love.
Herbert Burkhoff.
Yeah, Burkhoff, it's HB Studios in Bank Street in Manhattan.
Of course.
I studied under a teacher named Michael Beckett, and I really found that I had something, and why not? So I started doing some acting, and I started getting into that, and that started to really become something. So directing and all of that, and like when we,
I know we're skipping. I know we're jumping around.
We're skipping something that brings us together.
We'll get to that.
Right.
But recently, I was in the movies, and we were watching the Many Saints in Newark.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there you are.
Yeah, I had a nice little.
How did that come about?
Well, you know what? I auditioned a bunch of times for Boardwalk Empire, and I became friends with Terrence Winter. I really wanted to be on one of Terrence Winter's projects, and I was really working hard to get on that. And you become friends with actors over the years.
Sure.
And Alessandro Nivola came to me telling me that he was doing this project, and can I help him with some actually like character study stuff. And I got a chance to audition for a role on that. And I didn't get that role, but I guess the audition went well enough where they said, well, we like the audition so much, we're going to give you another part. And the cool thing was they didn't kill me in whatever part I had, right? So
wasn't the part at the sort
funeral
of the
home.
Wake, the funeral wake?
Yeah.
They didn't kill me, but they had me at the funeral home.
Yeah.
You know?
So like playing one of the gangsters, one of the men, right? So I get my couple of lines in on that. But it was really a nice feather in the cap because it's been a long time coming. I did an episode of Vinyl that Terrence produced, and yeah, man, I'm constantly out there.
And you also, you know what? You also, which sort of honestly set this whole thing into motion, the Ricky Powell documentary.
Yeah.
And I thought that you really came off very eloquent and just out of all the maniacs in the Ricky Powell documentary, I thought you were a real breath of fresh air, man.
I appreciate that, Drew.
You were very well composed and very articulate, and I was like, damn, I gotta get Kaves on the show.
You know, I appreciate that. I think over the years, I just guess I honed my bullshit, right? Like I try to be who I am. I try to be as authentic as I could be, as a true artist as I can be, and and I think all the years of being ahead of the curve, like, I always got that too. Oh, you're ahead of the curve. You're ahead of the curve, and it really does come down to timing. But not only that, but all the years of working, eventually you have to get good at some. So I would say to anybody out there, like, don't give up. You never know when the oil's going to strike, because just when I thought that, things were done, something would come and a movie would come, a short film, Eulogy, or even the film I did with in Paris with Marco, the Graffiti movie in Rome and Paris. There was always something that kept the wind in the sails that said, okay, you on to the next thing, Kaves. Don't worry about it. Keep cracking away at it. Your time will come. Because we were always bummed out that the Lordz of Brooklyn only reached a certain height, and we never had the big hit. We had little. We touched the grass, the brass ring a little. We were asked to polish it a couple of times, but no one ever gave it to us. I'm saying? We never got nothing. We always worked for it.
I was thinking about this actually the other day, and for myself, and I was thinking, you know what? I might not have been in the biggest band, but I know what it's like to get on a stage and rock the crowd.
Yeah.
I might not have made the biggest films, but I know what it's like to have a film on Netflix and to have to play in front of a packed crowd. And I've had those life experiences.
Listen,
and I cherish them.
Listen, man, I tell people all the time, I played in front of 5 people. I played in front of 50,000 people. I drove in the back of limousines, and I also drove limousines. This is what being
right.
New York, this is what like a New Yorker is, and like a true artist, like a body of work over the years. If I would have just had one success, I probably would never had the full body of work that I've achieved by putting down the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for myself, and I think this connects to you, for a long time, I sort of struggled, like in a certain regard. It was like, I had a little bit of I was a musician, and, I had a career doing music videos and, the extreme sports films. But there came a certain point where I turned a corner where for a long time, individually, those things, I sort of jumped from one to another. But at a certain age, I turned a corner where collectively, those things had a great weight to them. And that's where my career really turned.
Well, listen to this. When you go, say if you go for the big deal to me right now is let me check out your Wikipedia page, right? Like when someone goes to your Wikipedia page or they go to your bio, and you have like from 1980 to 2022, let's go over how many things that I put in and how much work I put in and what kind of a impression did you leave? What kind of influence did you have? What kind of there's plenty of these things, and I look back
what's
at
your what's your legacy going to be?
Right. So I'd rather be known for all of these things than any one thing that was a commercial success. Because at the end of the day, it's really about the process is the real payoff. Is all of these things, the people you meet along the way in the process to create. If you're a real artist, you got to be making fucking art. Don't worry about making money. It's really about making art. And it's crazy how we're only valued is always what was your biggest song or your biggest hit or the most money you made. But it's bullshit. It's really about what is the experience you had as an artist and how much art have you produced. You know,
It's a very 60s kind of thing. It's like that old sort of Mary Pranksters thing. The journey is in the trip. It's like it's the journey. It is that's where it's at, man. You know, life is an experiential training. It's the experience of all this. That's the money. That's the currency in this life. You know.
And listen, and I'll say this to you too, right? And this is
Hey, my brother just chimed in too.
Your brother's a sweetheart, and he always.
And you know what? And I just want to put this up here, and I want you to what you're saying. But after, let's, I know you've never seen this one, but there's you and your brother and me and my brother.
Oh shit!
In the streets of Brooklyn back in the day.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So you were saying.
We touched on a lot of cultures, and to bring it back a little bit to our of course meeting in the music scene and all that stuff, but later on it was like always being like a creator of culture and a creator of things that are cool as tastemakers and influencers. We always been ahead of the pack and ahead of the curve, and when we got a chance to share in that, when I seen the up and coming a scene popping out of Brooklyn and Staten Island with the kids on the fucking motorcycles doing their thing in the streets, an outlaw bike, like doing that movement. And then you're working with you and your brother to bring that to life. And that became an underground, just like Videograph with the graffiti, 12 o'clock. That became a resource for fucking I don't know how many major Hollywood films. And it was my version that I was trying to create, and you guys from the background of film and extreme sports, I was trying to do a graffiti Star Wars movie for the street bike culture.
Yep.
And this thing, fucking with this killer soundtrack, we did it all independently, and this thing flew off this was a big success. And if you don't think it influenced the whole fucking world on
this film that we collaborated on, turnkeyed this sport. And I've never had the chance to really formally thank you for bringing me into this, because I remember you called me and I came over to your house and you had a VHS tape, and I looked at this VHS tape, and it was like, and I knew Rough Riders were just, but this was a bunch of Italian kids from Brooklyn, and like John from the Wheelie Boys with the cigarette, and I'm like, wow. I got on the phone to my brother and said, yo, Kaves, this is fucking happening, man. You gotta check this out.
This was fucking one of those things. This was like this
and
was
the
another
soundtrack, man, is just so great. And you guys doing Sucker MCs, and it was great, man.
Listen,
great.
it was one of these things of being on the pulse of something that was created in the street, like graffiti art, like the hip hop, like punk rock and hardcore.
Yep.
This was another movement that we recognized that was up and coming. And Rough Riders, Winky and them, they definitely were the original. But these kids brought a pizzazz and style to it that was, on the Belt Parkway, over the Verrazano Bridge. These guys were fucking, they were doing tricks on motorcycles that inspired those films in Hollywood, because they got work later on in Hollywood, right?
Well, listen, it's no secret, and I've been told that, when, in Hollywood, someone walked into the producer's office, threw 12 o'clock on their table, and that's what the film Torque was. And that's what the film Biker Boys was like. We need to make a fucking film of what's going on here in Brooklyn, and they took 12 o'clock and used it as a template. That's no fucking secret.
And then later on, there was a movie called like 12 O'Clock Boys out in Maryland or something, right? Like, wasn't there a whole documentary or something of that
recently?
Nature? Yeah, like in
Baltimore. Yeah, it's called 12 O'Clock Boys. Yeah, and it's like the next generation.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's another cool one, bro. Look at this. Bam.
Wow. Look at the cop car. I need that picture. And that's, if I need that picture, that's in front of the old house. So check out the house and the car.
That's in front of your old house, and that's your old car.
Yeah. So
you and me.
So eventually I moved off the old block, the apartment building, and I got my first home with Donna, and the cop car Danny Boy gave me as a present, and the house, Brooklyn, you want to hear Brooklyn like legend and folklore? That house was the house of Pee Wee Reese from the Brooklyn Dodgers.
No
Little did I even know that information would come out after I sold the house
Wow.
and moved on to another house. But that was like Brooklyn Dodgers, Barwell Terrace. Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
What street is that behind? What lane? What is that behind it?
Barwell. It's called Barwell Terrace.
Barwell Terrace. It was like a
terrace with cul-de-sac where some of the Brooklyn Dodgers lived in. So
wow, that's amazing.
Brooklyn all day long. So, getting back to these things, like, you just, as an artist, as a true artist, and I always, like, Revs would tell me, because Revs is like a lone wolf, doesn't sell his work, legendary. He used to just tell me, stop complaining, just keep doing your work. Like, stop worrying about being noticed. He's like, your work will speak for itself. And there was a lot of truth in that. I mean, look how many years later, look how many ventures. And, for a Brooklyn kid to travel the places I've traveled, and we always consider ourselves kids, right? Because we're always young at heart. I think my mother would be proud of us, and I hope that she is. And I think we're just beginning now at 50-something-year-olds to really start telling the tales. Now it's our responsibility to tell those stories from the 90s and all that fun time in the 80s of New York City and Brooklyn. And I think there's a lot of opportunity coming up for us as actors and filmmakers and musicians, and taking all these talents that we have. And now we just need, the avenue. And there's, what's incredible is that Web3 and this metaverse thing, as much as people think it's fucking hokey.
You want to go there? Let's go there.
I mean, we can. We can. I know it's going to lead to there, right?
Yeah. Let's go there with. But one quick thing I just want to say before we go there is that what you were saying reminds me of something that I'm not the biggest Andy Warhol fan, but I do. He said this quote that really, really, really spoke to me, and that and I'm paraphrasing here. He says that go out and make great art.
Right.
And while they are debating and arguing about the art, go out and make more great art. Right. And I really been living my life like that for a long time now. Like, while they're chirping about the bullshit about what I did yesterday, I'm looking down the road and what art I could make today. And,
absolutely.
And I think, and that kind of brings us to this. And maybe you could explain to us what's going on here.
So, through all the years, like, let's go back 25 years.
And what's crazy is I remember this from 25 years ago.
Right. So we as artists have these projects and these creations that we come up with, and sometimes they see the light of day, sometimes they don't. The Family Mooks was a project I created 25 years ago as an animated TV series, because I always, in between record deals, I was always trying to find out what's next. And been an illustrator since I'm a child, and it's always in the wheelhouse. So doodling on a napkin in my friend's pizzeria, I came up with something called the Family Mooks. And, I had it to a point where it was like The Sopranos meets the Addams Family, or The Godfather meets the Munsters. It was like Mama Mook was a grandmother that took over a family business, disorganized crime family, and she had these sons that were fucking mooks, and they were warring with the 5 families, and Mama Mook, they're out to kill her sons, and she's a stray Ganona, and she comes up with a spell to make them immortal, right? So trying to get it shopped as a TV show. It was in Mass Appeal magazine. Sasha Jenkins had me in, it was a comic strip in Mass Appeal. It was going places. I had I had a deal with Annabella Sciorra. We were going to produce it and shop it. And, basically it went to a showrunner, and then it sat around and dissolved. 2 years later, I put it in a drawer, and I was just like, that's it. It's not going anywhere. I put it away, and I said, just a great idea. I put it to bed. But every once in a while, I would pick it back up. and then reinvent it. And really, like, and that's when I came up with the more of it, them turning it, like years later, I turned it more into a fish out of water story, more into a monster story. And I never gave up hope about it. People, Sasha Jenkins and Carter Harris once wrote an episode for it and a screenplay for it. And so every once in a while I would pick it back up. But over COVID and before COVID, I had the tattoo parlors. I was tattooing for 20 years. And that's how I always felt like you don't want to be a starving artist. So whatever you do, make sure
let me just interject that the tattoo parlor originally was called Brooklyn Made. And you still have it, right? It's called Pigtown, right?
Yeah. So I got an art studio in Industry City where I tattoo out of, right? And I make art here. But at some point, I've in the back of my head always just like, you don't want to be a starving artist. So tattooing, and when we put our son to school, he went to culinary school. And when he went into culinary,
is this your son Blaze?
Blaze. So now he's Big Blaze, right? Well, you knew him when he was a little baby, right?
I remember when he was a baby, bro. How old is he now?
23.
Wow. I remember when he was 3.
Yeah. So check it. So basically, I always wanted to do. Funny thing with the Lordz of Brooklyn, the pizza box and everything. I was always working in a pizzeria. I always had a fetish, a fantasy about a pizzeria. So eventually, I had, a shot to open up my own restaurant. And my son comes out of culinary school, and he's my pizza maker. And my sister Chrissy, that at the Kiss concert now, she's the manager and she runs the place. And I have this beautiful jazz joint pizzeria called the Brooklyn Firefly in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And we celebrated our 5th year anniversary. And, it's been incredible. My wife
shouting out Dominic Colilla says Brooklyn Firefly, great pizza.
Oh, thank you, Dominic. So, and not to mention, like, behind the scenes, the real ace in the hole, it's always been Donna. She's been the editor. She's been the bookkeeper. She's been like the back end. And that she can't get enough props. So we had to learn the restaurant business, and it was a fucking completely fucking crazy business. Probably one of the most insane businesses that I've ever been in when it comes to anything. So I wanted to do this pizzeria as almost this immersive piece of art, like this was like a sculpture to me, but you ate the art, right? Pizza, music, and art. But then COVID hit. And that was really grueling. But my sister and my son, everybody pulled together. But I felt like, man, there's got to be something else. So a family attorney, Joseph Carrazzo, brought these gentlemen from the Doodle Labs that were talking NFTs. And
that's the Doodle Labs.
Yeah. Yep. They were talking. They were asking me, they came to the restaurant, sat down, and had the pizza, and they loved the pizzeria. They knew about, they heard all about my art, and Joseph was telling them who I was. And they researched me, and they wanted to do something Kaves, right? Like, is it graffiti? Is it the Lordz of Brooklyn? Is it this and that? And something in the back of my head said, no, I got something that's a little bit more broader, that's a little bit more, I think would resonate in a younger community, because I felt like it never really got the shot it deserved years and years ago. And I said, well, what about this? And I introduced them, to the family mooks. And it just was one of those things. Like, when I said, well, explain an NFT to me, and what is an NFT? And they did, and they explained it the best they could. But then I think just learning more about it and understanding this was a new way to tell a story, and how
there's a lot to learn there. NFT,
there's a lot.
I'm still, my kid, knows this stuff, and no matter how many times he explains it to me, I still struggle grasping.
Well, it's a new language, right? But like any other language, you just got to really tune in and learn. So the community, I went, on the Twitter Spaces and in the Discord, and they, I think they got a kick out of the struggle and the struggle of my career, and the fact that I was willing to share something that was a passion project of mine that I wanted to animate years ago. And I think it was, catching lightning in a bottle, it just really resonated. And when it dropped as a generative project, it really hit a nerve and struck a chord, and became very, very successful. So I like to say it was like I hit my jump around, like I got my jump around song, like I got my hit record. And now I know what that feels like, right?
20 years working towards being an overnight, 30 years working towards being an overnight sensation.
Right. And now like the work begins, because now I'm in this world of you speak about the metaverses and the currencies and this and that, and really learning about how I found out, like, just like a hit song, you just don't want to rely on that. You really have to treat it like you would treat a record, or you would treat a movie. You have to really build the value, because now you have customers and people that committed and bought into the MOOCs. And now it's my work begins, where I'm behind the scenes now building physical paintings, but back to the real love and true passion was the animated series. So the incredible thing is that I hooked up with a company in Hollywood. I've been back and forth to Hollywood 3 or 4 times already, and working with an animation company called Renegade to bring the MOOCs to life as an animated series. And I
just want to interject too.
Yeah.
One thing I really love about it is it's kind of old school animation, and I think that's why my dad loves it. It's like, like for instance, when I did the Ilago film, right? There's there's an animated sequence in there.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you. I interviewed all these kids, and it was all this sort of like computer, and then one guy came across the board with this old school Hanna-Barbera, like, and I was like, yo, this is
what's up.
It speaks to me. It speaks to me, and the love
that's
I have for early animation.
And listen, and I have the same love and passion of Ralph Bashke from Brooklyn, and Frank Frazetta. But I felt like I also respect the community and the young cats, because I got all young kids. I got my son Dylan is a computer programmer. He's 14, going to be 15 next week. Quinn's an MC. He's 19. Ruby's an incredible artist and fashionista.
How many kids do you have now? 4?
I got 4.
Jeez.
So I respect what's coming down. Like, I'm listening to the street again, and I just like with the 12 o'clock and with the Lordz of Brooklyn, I'm back listening to my ears to the ground, going, okay, this is something that's special. But now there's a lot of work to kind of keep moving it forward, because the NFT space is a market space, and there's people that own it and they're trading it and everything else. But me as an artist, my responsibility is to really push it to the places that we promised, and the places where it continues to tell a story. One, bring value to the investment of the MOOCs, but 2, to really bring value to the art of storytelling into the dawn of a new graffiti, a dawn of a new metaverse. You know what I'm saying?
It's exciting. It's exciting because there's not a lot of guys from our generation that are at the forefront of it. So it's really great. It's really great that you are. And I also want to throw in the mix, I gotta say, I really love some of the art that you're making these days. Here's like these pieces, man.
Oh, the abstracts.
I love them, bro. They're great.
Yeah, you know what? Lately, I've been fortunate. So the big picture is like, I'm gonna start doing one-on-ones that also are physical and digital. So you'll be able to get them as NFTs, but you'll also get them as physical. So cats that also. I built a gallery here in Industry City where you can get an NFT or the physical painting or the physical print, and I hope to build the career. My fine art stuff is really taking off as well. And I'm fortunate that now a lot of these things are coming to fruition. And I hope to bring, the more my profile and my work becomes accepted and collected, it brings value to the other projects. It brings value to the family MOOCs.
It pulls everything up.
It brings the Lords of Brooklyn back.
Sure.
Right? Like all this music and content. Now think about this. Think about all in our community, how many unsung heroes there are, how many fucking incredible artists there are. I'm just a small, like, little guy here in South Brooklyn, but there's so many. Then if this platform, an NFT platform, could actually give royalties to people's content that they've been sitting on for 40 years and revamping and reissuing, like, this is a whole new direct to client, like direct to customer, like direct to collector. This is really
it's the new horizon, and it's the new frontier. It really is. I'm learning about it now, and like I've said before, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to my dad about it. He's super excited about it. He's got a lot of great stuff. I'm going down to Florida next week, and we're gonna sit around the kitchen table, and we're gonna get it going.
Listen, what I told him, he has something authentic. He has a body of a career of work that needs to be shared, and it's always great when it's for a special reason, for a charity thing. Like, so after the Mooks thing happened, I got a chance to Soleil Moonfry is a friend of mine. She's been a longtime friend, sweetheart. She invited me to Sean Penn's core relief for like COVID relief for Latin America, and I got to do a live painting that they were able to sell for a pretty penny, and it went to charity. So I feel like you got to balance this stuff, you know, and find a good balance and keep giving back to these communities and to your community. And, you know,
I like to think that part of it also is when you come from humble beginnings and you work your way up, you know, through the ranks, that when the success comes, you know how to treat it right. You're not going to piss it away. You're not going to take it for granted.
No.
You know, you're sort of well adjusted at this point.
I'll share something with Drew on this show. That'll probably be the first time I shared this with anybody. When people said, "Oh, you had a great success. Oh, the Many Saints of Newark. Oh, that was incredible. Your NFT project, your paintings are selling for great money." I said, the truth is, the restaurant. I said, well, here's the truth. 3 years ago, I found out, like, my father had a triple bypass. And I found out in my family that there was heart disease issues in my family that I never knew about. I walked into Cornell, or I can't even remember the name of the hospital. I walked in and found out that I had a 99% blockage of my main widowmaker artery, that I was lucky to be even standing there talking. So that was 3 years ago that they found the same thing that happened to the Kevin Smith, the director. I had a closed artery that I shouldn't have been here. That would have been lights out.
Mitral valve?
Because I had a full. So I walked in the hospital. They pretty much said that you're the luckiest man alive. So that was my big moment, my big hit. And, you know, so I've been vegan now for 3 years, and I had to bring vegan options to the menu at the Firefly. But I got very lucky, and that was my real hit. That I discovered what was really important in life was my health, and what's really like. What really matters is that we're truly gifted, we're truly blessed to even get a chance to be here to do this. So I won't take a minute to waste any time and try to do something that's positive and bring something to light. And even with heart disease, like it could, you know, you could be the fittest cat. And I always was this fit cat. You know, I was always nimble and on it, but it could run in your family if you don't go check it out. You could be a walking time bomb, and that shit happened to me. You know,
it happened
3 years ago.
It happened to me too. I had open heart surgery almost 20 years ago.
So they shot 2 stents up my wrist.
Yep. Not that I want to show my scar, but I got one. So
you survived it 20 years ago, and look, you're fucking beautiful, sitting here, fucking more energy than half the kids I know.
You know who? This is interesting. There's a tie-in here because Eric had the same surgery. Eric Everlast.
Yes.
Had the same exact. So I briefly talked to him. He had the exact same thing, and what he said to me was, "Get it done when you're young." You know, because I didn't have to do it in that moment, but his words made sense. It's like Get it done when you're young, when you have the power of recovery.
Listen. I'm squirming around right now because it kind of gives me anxiety, but this is the first time I shared it publicly. This is the first time I shared it because I feel like,
well, you're among friends here, brother, and we love you, man. So
I feel like it was important to share with the community of people, especially our age, is that, you know, it's time to, you know, take responsibility and really care about yourself, your mental health. You know, I lost my uncle a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago, suicide. You know, all this stuff in our communities, being artists, we're fucking super sensitive to everything that's around us. But we got to take care of each other and take care of ourselves and keep creating beautiful fucking works of art.
Right on. Absolutely.
I went from painting train cars to painting Jaguars. That's
what I'm getting at. I want to touch on this before I take my final sponsor break, and then we take questions from around the world. Gary says the Jaguar car was cool, and Austin Martin too. Recognition of success. This is amazing. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, Jaguar came to me. They wanted to do an art car. They wanted to artists, definitely are I don't even know what to say. They wanted to, communicate that they were hip. That Jaguar. As cool as Jaguars are, like I definitely felt on some James Bond shit doing the Aston Martin. There's another brand that brands wanna like mingle with the artists and musicians and shit and collaborate. That was a collaboration I was honored to do. And those are the things people recognize your work, and it was dope to do.
Here's the front of it. How does something just technically? How do you paint on a car? Are you airbrushing it?
No, that's straight. That one was straight spray paints, graffiti style. The train car pulls in. I painted that in a couple of hours, and it pulled out. Just like that's a great thing about being a graffiti artist. We were able to adapt and paint on anything.
Yeah.
And any content's under pressure, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Hey, let me take my last sponsor shout out.
Yeah.
And let's come back and let's take questions from around the world.
Cool.
All right. Well, there you have it. Great show. And our guest today is Mr. Kaves, entrepreneur and musician. Honored to have him on the show. And I know everybody out there is enjoying it as well. And that's what we do. We do great shows. And part of the reason is because you're a part of it. It ain't about me, that's for sure. Really, and we are so fortunate to have sponsors, New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and they're heading out. They've been a great sponsor to us. Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, located in Lakewood, Colorado, is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2014, they have the largest selection of records, CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and LA. From the pit to the ditch, they got your back. Get in touch with them at chainreactionrecords.com. We love you, Josh. We love everybody at Chain Reaction. They're going on. They're going to focus some of their energy and sponsor finances on a couple other things. You will always be a part of the family. They're moving on. Moving in is Grunge and Grime Soap Company. Super excited that they're coming on board, and we're gonna talk to Michael, and we're gonna talk soap for all you filthy people. Natural soap made in the USA. This is our new sponsor, Grunge and Grime Soap Company. Excited about them. I also want to shout out Organic Grill. By the way, not going to get into the whole Organic Grill spiel. Right now, they're moving from the East Village over to East 3rd Street, right next to the Blue Note. And they're going to be opening in a couple weeks, and we'll have Vlad back on. So Organic Grill is gearing up. Want to mention that we have a Tompkins Square Park show. The New York Hardcore Chronicles proudly presents the Back to the New York Hardcore Roots series. We're doing a show in Tompkins Square Park, and that is with the mighty Rebel Matic and Enzaguri, Silence Equals Death, Cropsy, and Fire is Murder. That is Sunday, June 12th. I certainly hope I can get back from Germany and Israel where I'm screening my new film. If not, you are all on your own. I will set things up before I leave. Hopefully I don't get stuck in another country. But yep, Sunday, June 12th, show in Tompkins Square Park, our beloved Tompkins Square Park. That said, I want to thank all the patrons. Oh, yeah, you know what? Also, the book. The book is, the third printing of the book is out. If you are interested, it's at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. I always forget to grab one. That's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Volume 1, 1980 to 1989. Check it out if you haven't. The third printing is in. And I want to shout out my new patrons. And if you're not a patron, please get with the program. New patrons, Michael Tittle, Fred De La Cruz, Jeffrey Stano, and Gina Vaccaro. Thank you for supporting the show. And hopefully you're coming out on the walking tour that we are doing on Saturday. So that said, questions, please post them up for Mr. Kaves. Don't be shy, let it fly. Also, we do super chat. If you have a burning desire question and you want to spend $1 or $2, it comes through on super chat in color, and I can't miss it, and you go right to the front of the line. Let's bring on our guest, Mr. Kaves, man. TE says, great show. I learned a lot more about Kaves than I knew before. All right.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's what we're, yeah. John Newman says, owning and running a restaurant, most hardcore job and passion in the world. This hits home for so many of us.
Oh yeah. And it was, you know, in the pandemic, definitely, you know, a lot of restaurants closed down, which was incredibly sad. And fortunate in Bay Ridge, we had support of the community, and we had a beer garden that was big enough to put heat lamps and
so you managed to kind of move a lot of it outside, and
we managed to like up the delivery game a bit, and you know, thanks to the community and the support, we were able to push through, and the landlord helped out, and you know, like all these things but it was my family. It's like it says on the door, family operated. If it wasn't for my family holding it down, we would have closed. Yeah, for sure.
Paulie Porkchop says, any memories of Lemoore?
Lemore's, probably seeing Biohazard there. The Biohazard was, they would like, that was their stomping grounds, hard body.
They ruled the roost there for a minute.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Biohazard definitely did. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. That's right. Nobody's perfect. Yep. There you go.
RS70, our real graffiti lover and historian, says, best classic car?
I got a 63 Riviera. That's my pride and joy right now.
He must be chiming in, watching the show, because I figured he was going to be here the whole time. So now I guess he must be chiming in right now. But not to get too crazy, but maybe there's one out there. Wildest graffiti story?
Oh man, listen, I touched on the one about us getting raided in the Fresh Pond Yard. Yeah, that was insane. That was like, you know, a handful of cops with their pistols drawn, chasing us down, 50 feet of track, third rail, and I couldn't make it out of the hole, and a couple of my friends made it out, and yeah, they put us up against the train. We did this whole Miami Vice car, and the Vandal Squad took me down to the precinct, and they were trying to get me to spill the beans on Revs, and my father walked in and was just like, "Get my fucking kid out of those cuffs now," and fucking said, he's 15 years old, go fuck yourselves. And when he pulled me out, he did the Goodfellas thing, walking out of the precinct like, you did good. You don't tell on your friends, and that was it. Yeah,
that's great. Nifty Dimension says, I appreciate the health stories, guys. Y'all are making me think it's time to go vegan. Peace. See what happens when we share our health stories?
Yeah, 3 years. Listen, we got a vegan, like I put the vegan options on the menu at the Firefly. They became very popular. We made our own ricotta cheese, vegan, mozzarella. We definitely we're very, very supportive of that. It's definitely, we ate one way, 50 years of being a Gavone one way. Now, it's something different. We could eat a different way. But it's my wife does it for the the animals. I do it because I'm an animal, and I just want to make sure that I stick around.
TE asks, what are the other members of Lords of Brooklyn doing now?
Well, they're all good. My brother's killing it with the rug burners. He's doing graffiti carpets that is killing the scene. He's doing collaborations with.
What's that? The rug burners?
Yeah, rug burners. He's doing graffiti carpets. He's tufting his own rugs, and they kind of blew up. He's doing collaborations with Crash, Mark Bodie. He's really doing an incredible job, and he just produced two songs recently for Method Man, Redman, and KRS.
Wow.
Yeah, he's about to do another. We're about to do another record. Like, we had a reunion record over COVID that kind of it was. I'm trying to figure out how to maybe NFT bring it all back. Paulie, Dino Bots, Scotty Edge.
Wow.
The
old crew.
The old crew. We did a little reunion record. You can go on YouTube and probably catch some of it. But we're trying to figure out how to get that back out. Maybe some vinyl. But the Lords of Brooklyn, they're all good.
Vinyl's back.
Yeah, I extended family in the neighborhood, all the band members that helped us along the way. Everybody's waiting for the next party, bro. Yeah.
Cool. You know what I want to touch on? We mentioned Howie, but you guys have had some success with you guys did the hip hop alphabet. You did the hip hop alphabet #2.
Yeah.
You did Metallica ABCs, and you're doing one with one of my all-time favorite bands now.
That's right. You want to announce that one?
I mean, you're doing. Hold on, let me put the Metallica one on. There you go. You did the ABCs of Metallica.
Yeah.
And now you're doing the ABCs of the Grateful Dead.
Yes.
That is awesome.
So Howie, definitely, we're always doing creative stuff together. Like I said, like family, and always coming up with new projects. And Howie's got a nice thing going on with these books. He's found he did the music business for so many years, and now I'm so happy that he's on the other side and being creative, because he's an incredible writer himself. And I was able to take my Kaves thing and illustrations, and I had help from my apprentice Bella Kozariva, and we definitely we have a crew of creatives that are always constantly pushing what's next.
How far into the Grateful Dead book are you?
Well, I probably sketched about like 6 or 7 pages so far.
That one speaks to me, being a big, Grateful Dead fan.
It's gonna be.
I've drilled Howie on it a couple of times. Like, is it? And he told me, that there's certain parameters that you guys have to sort of work within with the thing, as far as band members go and that kind of.
Yeah.
But he said, that sounds like a great project, man.
Donna's the graphic designer on them. She's also been editing a bunch of films with Sasha Jenkins.
Right. Tell us what did she edit the Rick James film?
She did the graffiti one on the she did the Ralph McDaniels one, the video music box one.
Yep.
She's doing the DJ one right now. She's done a bunch of sizzle. So I don't know if she might have did the sizzle for the Rick James. I know there's so many, I'm losing track of it. She did Ancestry Ties that won a Can and a Webby, and Sasha's killing it.
In the middle, listen, Sasha's a juggernaut, man. I like Sasha a lot, and he's another guy that just has just hung in there, man. He's got a great where they Hey, Mr. JM asks, what did you think of your time touring with Sublime?
Oh, that was another like magical moment in our career. I mean, Brad was a fan of the Lords of Brooklyn and called on us. We met them on the Warped Tour briefly, but he was like, "Yo, I'm a fan. Would you guys come out?" We didn't even know what that was about, but boy, were we lucky, because it was genius. Like witnessing something really genius. Wesley Willis, Lords of Brooklyn, and Sublime. That was a legendary tour that doesn't get as much hype as it should, because it was incredible, and we were introduced to that whole culture, and they were big supporters of the Lords of Brooklyn. Yeah.
Is that right? RS70 asked, he also had a high-powered graffiti store at one point. Is that right?
I did. I did. So talk about like being ahead of the curve. We had the first graffiti store by graffiti writers in New York City in the early 90s. And we were like, the whole streetwear fashion thing, that's Lords of Brooklyn. That's how we came up. We were branding the Lords of Brooklyn on streetwear as a way to get in the door, but as also putting graffiti on apparel. We had, and there's another thing where Donna constructed a sculpture of a New York City subway car, and that was the first of its kind that sat in the store when you walked in, and you can get your graffiti magazines there and markers, and It was called BMT Lines.
I'm sorry, where was it again?
It was in Bay Ridge, and it was called BMT Lines, the name of the store. And it definitely, if you want to talk about streetwear and culture, New York City streetwear culture, it was one of the firsts.
Cool. Can I answer this next one? T, is Kaves a deadhead? I'm gonna take this one. Kaves is not a deadhead, but he can appreciate the Grateful Dead. Howie Abrams.
Yeah.
Now I'll let this out of the bag. Back in the day, in the late '80s and the '90s, when I had long hair and I was doing the rock thing, I would go to Grateful Dead shows and I would see Howie Abrams there, and we would always see, and I'd see him a lot. Because, I went to, whether it was the Garden or the Nassau Coliseum. So me and Howie Abrams would always run into each other at the Grateful Dead concert. So I'm assuming that Howie Abrams was sort of the catalyst for this project, which is awesome.
And you know what? And my uncle was a Deadhead, and he had the Grateful Dead sticker on the bumper of his Cadillac. So my participation in it is a respect and ode to my Uncle Jack.
I don't understand this one. Things by Gary says things have definitely went full circle. Can you talk about the recent Kaves versus NYPD cleanup thing? Is that something I don't know?
Well, yeah, I'm in a class action lawsuit with the NYPD, and not personally the police officers themselves. It's the policy of their graffiti cleanup during the pandemic, where they erased a painting that was a 13-year-old like famous graffiti painting that I had in New York City, and they erased it without any permission from.
It's a piece you did.
Yeah, and it's ongoing right now. It will have its day in court, but yeah, it's me. It's basically sticking up for artists' rights.
Sure.
That you just can't go and do what you want when an artist has rights, free, and we have a right to protect it and protect our work. And there has to be some changes. You know
what you reminded me of, and I just pulled this out of my archive, and that would be, it just reminded me a little bit about what happened with this place. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? Like some similarity there, correct?
Yeah. And the same legal team that represented the 5 Points is representing the case. This is something different because it's actually the city, there's the police department that went ahead and went throughout the whole city after COVID and erased, without asking anybody for any kind of permission on the wall that I did. You know what I'm saying? They didn't ask my permission for sure.
Right. He just buffed it.
Yeah, and that wall was in books and magazines and movies and TV shows. It definitely, there was a graffiti tour that used to tour it. It definitely.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
Imagine one of your biggest, best pieces just
proud
taken away from.
It's almost like if they, and I know this is the Keith Haring handball courts on 125th Street. Like if they just went and buffed that, right?
Listen, there's no difference. My peers and causes at the Brooklyn Museum. You know what I'm saying? There's no difference. My museum is in the street.
Absolutely. Joe Halleck says, magic moment for me, walking in, seeing Lords of Brooklyn open for Cypress annual Halloween gig. I never thought I'd get the opportunity.
Those were incredible. And if you haven't seen it, the Cypress Hill documentary by Esteban Orio is incredible. Cypress Hill extended family, House of Pain, like those guys, I couldn't say enough about, the love and respect over the years that we've gotten for them and from them. And the hip hop the little hip hop history that don't really get, enough of, right?
Hey, this just in from Astoria Lou. Boom.
Wow.
This just in from Astoria Lou. So I think, let me see what he put a year on it. 5 points, 2011.
Yeah, man. KR, that's me, KR, and Sam, man. Put it in. We're in the street. We're always in the street.
That's great. Great shot. Thank you, Lou. That's a good one. Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah. What did I just see? What does Cave think of what Danny Boy's doing with the Outsiders house in Oklahoma? I do not know what that's referring to.
That's incredible. Danny
what is
Boy,
that?
Danny Boy moved out to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and really did something incredible. He started a museum out of one of the houses that were going to be condemned of the movie The Outsiders, because he was a big fan and buff of The Outsiders and anything American pop culture and movies, and he basically restored it and has the biggest movie memorabilia collection of any kind of The Outsiders. And
I did not know that about him.
Matt Dillon was just there. S.E. Hinton, he's trying to get a museum. He became he's really doing a lot for Tulsa, Oklahoma. With that.
Danny Boy's in Oklahoma now.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great, man. Wow. Well, hey, thank you.
Thank you, bro. It's been long overdue.
It's just, man, I really enjoyed it, man. I'm really fortunate. I get to do this show now, and people support me, and I get to bring, people like yourselves on who just enrich my life, with their art, and just thank you. And anybody you want to shout out?
No, I thank you, your brother. It's and your father. Good, your father. Great meeting him. Shout out to the hardcore community and the hip hop community, New York City in general, and people across the world that support the culture and support what keeping the flame. It's important to keep that flame burning for this. This is a culture invented by children for children. They're finding a voice, and it's great that we both could find our voice in all of this and keep continuing to carry that story.
I want to come out. Scott says, "Thanks, Cave. This was awesome. It was. It was a good one. I want to come out and check out your place out in Industry City, man.
Industry City's popping. I got the studio, the little gallery.
Is it where you're at? Is it is there food in the building?
Yeah, there's 5, 6, 7. There's 10 buildings full of artists. The artist community. There's foods. There's shops. It's like the college campus I never got to go to. There's some great people here. Come have some dinner at the Brooklyn Firefly. Check out the family.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Mac Ray, who plays drums in the band that I'm in, says, "Get your ass out here." They're in the recording studio in Jersey right now.
Nice.
And I said, "You guys go. You guys." I'm not a big recording studio dude. It's like, you guys go, get all the music together. I'm doing my show at Kaves, and then when it's over, I'm coming out there. So
great. Save a track open, multi-track,
There you go. Thanks, man. Let's keep in touch. And actually Pepe says, Drew, the place is great. I recommend it. And yes, great food. So I'll come out and visit and get a bite. Maybe I'll bring my gal with me,
Come on, anytime.
All right. Say hi to Donna for me, and all the best to you, man. I'm so proud of what you're doing.
God bless, bro. All right.
Wow. What a great show. God damn. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Shit. God damn. Fuck, man. Woo. You know what? I don't know if I want to come out to the recording studio, Mac Ray. Fuck you guys. God damn. Shit. I think I'm just gonna, savor the moment. I know we do need more. We'll get some more graffiti types, Joe. You know, we should get like we'll get Mr. Revolt on, or you know, it's been a long time coming. Contos, where were you, bro? You just missed a great show. Fucking Chris Contos, bro. Come on. You know? Hey, Contos, are you guys playing Crash Fest? We just got added to Crash Fest up there, up your way. Get you guys up, you know. You know what? Fuck the studio. You know what? Fuck all you rock dudes, man. I'm not going into the studio. Thank you, Victoria. It was great. Yeah, we'll get some more hip hop too. We're gonna do it all. You know, we're gonna do it all. Who's up next, by the way? Oh, this should be interesting. A week from today is Bill Manspeaker, the creator and driving force behind Green Jelly, formerly Green Jello, and the film director Kevin Vonnesper. They have the film The Life and Slimes of Dookie, Fly Swatter, and Haunted Garage. I learned a lot. It's very interesting. So, yeah. That said, we'll see everybody on. I got to go scream my brains out in the studio. Ah! You know? God damn. You know? Ugh. Thanks, Jeff. You know? Shouting out Stephen Oswald from the High and the Mighty. You know? You're going to get Astral Project history after. Yeah, we'll see. All right, good. Hey, thanks a lot, everybody. That was a great show. I want to shout out my dad, Artie Stone, that was watching the show. My brother, Evan B. Stone, that was watching the show. Oh, yeah, walking tour on Saturday. Rat Bones will be there. Hegs will be there. Steven Messina. Listen, anybody's welcome. Listen, anybody that watches this show, if anybody's in Manhattan on Saturday, drop me a line. You don't even have to be a patron. Come out with us on the walking tour. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time, and I'd love to have you. If you watch the show, you're a friend of mine. All right. That said, until next time, do good things, and good things will come to you.